Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strykers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60. It's Thursday, and we are back for another episode of Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health Systems. No song references for today because we got a packed show, but I'll annoy you with song quotes next week. My name is Christian Philemon, better known as Philly, and joining me, my good friend and partner on these airwaves, the Oracle of Orange County, the pride of Placentia. I give you Timmy K. Colats.
Hey, Philly, I'm doing muy bien, señor. Espero que tu tiempo en Mexico haya sido excelente, mi amigo. It was a great call that you had on the final, and it was awesome, man. I'm glad you're in one piece, because last year you came back and you're a little worse for wear, my friend.
I was, and not because Mexico whooped me, because a series of multiple broadcasts whooped me, but I'll talk more about that on the Empire Strikers segment. But back on the show today, by popular demand, the head co-host of the Galaxy podcast, La Cuna Galaxiana, we bring back Rob Halone. What's up, my man? Welcome back.
Hey, thank you, guys. It's a pleasure to be back. Yeah, I don't know who was the popular demand. Like I was saying, I mean, I'm gonna just have some family members calling in to say like, hey, let me go ahead and see my sobrino or my son back on the show. But yeah, it's really fun to be back with you guys. Can't wait to talk about everything happening in Galaxylandia and whatever else you guys want to talk about. So cheers, gentlemen. Let's take it.
Cheers. And look, it doesn't matter if it was your mother or your cousin or anybody. You're back by popular demand, and we're glad that you survived. I know you had your anniversary last week, which is why we had to rush you off, but you're alive and well and looking good. So that being the case, let's get started on today's show. We're going to talk about all the teams that we do talk about in the intro. And I'll tell you that the LAFC segment will be cut somewhat short, particularly the recaps and the previews, mainly because our special guest today is LAFC co-president Larry Freedman. So we'll talk to him. That's a great conversation. Larry and I have known each other going on 8 years now. We also bring back Nina Kiefer of the Angel City Chicks podcast. She'll be joining us for the ACFC segment and the Best 11. So let's not waste any more time on these airwaves. And as Tim always says, let's get after it. Reads, first and foremost, though, we got to pay them bills. Experience the thrill of game day with Omnitrans in partnership with the Strykers. Be in the heart of the action at Toyota Arena and let us take care of the ride. Heading to the game, hop aboard Omnitrans for a seamless journey to Toyota Arena. Simply download the Transit app to catch your bus and enjoy a stress-free trip to cheer on the Strykers. All right, folks. We're going to switch things up a bit. We're going to start with the LA Galaxy. Tim and Rob will walk you through what the defending champs did against Austin FC and, of course, preview the upcoming match against the pesky Pine Trees of Portland, otherwise known as the Timbers. But before we really do get cracking on all of that, I got to start this off wanting to recognize the passing of a Galaxy icon, and I mean that sincerely. Never would I go to a game in Carson and not see Julio Tranquilo Davila. Many might not know him by name, but I can tell you, you've seen him. The man had an impeccable sense of style, and he will be greatly, greatly missed. Rob, I'm going to defer to you, being the Galaxy podcast host, La Cuna Galaxiana. Talk to us a little bit about the significance that Tranquilo had on the club and the supporters.
Hey, Philly, I'm going to keep it 100. I've been in and around the team a long time, as both as a supporter and now that I'm a journalist, covering the team. But I didn't know about Tranquilo before the past couple of days, and just in the past couple of days, I've started to learn about how important he was for this community. I mean, I go back and I see pictures of him with Greg Vanny, both as a coach and then way back as a player. So he's been around this franchise for it's since its inception. I do want to point out there, though, that although I don't personally know too much about him, I know that for the Galaxy community, especially online, I mean, they've just been there with the outpouring of love, and there is a GoFundMe for the Davila family. So if you are so inclined, go ahead and search that out, and please go ahead and donate. But yeah, I mean, it's always sad when you lose a G, but I guess Tranquilo's up there now, hanging out with the 6 stars.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you, Rob. And for the Galaxy to lose such a historical piece of the franchise, I mean, he's been around forever as part with the club, and for them to lose somebody like that, it's a big deal, and it's not something that should be taken lightly. And Philly, I really appreciate it that you, being the LAFC guy, that you start off the show with that, man. That's really, really, really represents what Soccer and 60 represents, right? The entire community of the soccer world, man. Very, very cool of you, brother.
Yeah, no, of course. We may be rivals on the pitch, but honestly, got to be friends off of it. We're in a small enough world trying to grow this beautiful game, not only in this part of the United States, but obviously within the country as well. Obviously, Tranquilo, part of the team since 1996. Rob, you mentioned it. He gets to have a nice front seat up in the heavens, but he's not going to be alone. He's going to be up there with Ziggy Schmidt, obviously, them two getting reunited. So rest in peace, Tranquilo. All right. Let's talk about the Galaxy's weekend taking on Austin. Gentlemen, have at it.
Yeah, Rob, I want to talk to you about this because Vanny said it in the post game, and I agree with him to an extent. I mean, it was a pretty entertaining game, even with the 0-1 scoreline in favor of Austin. But Peck played really well. Vanny said it in the post game that it's one of their better games that they played. And then John McCarthy, he was the player of the match. I don't care who you talk about. I mean, Stuver, the goal scorer, or anything like that. But this thing could have been 4 or 5-0 had McCarthy not put up his mitts and made a couple excellent saves in this game.
Yeah, John McCarthy, I mean, he said he was going to bounce back from that gaffe against Orlando City, and he's proven it with a couple of great performances. You did mention Gabriel Peck. I mean, he had a couple of chances. I mean, one that hit off the post, but ultimately could not score. I mean, yes, these are improved performances. Greg might have been happy, but I guarantee that the whole of Galaxylandia is not happy there. I mean, it's still no wins out of 9. We always take it to the streets on our pod on La Cula Galaxiana, and we had an outpouring basically of tweets talking about the dissatisfaction going on in the fan base and how in any other franchise that's supposed to be an MLS Cup contender, this probably would not be going on, but because there is that social credit right now that this franchise has, they kind of have a little bit more latitude. But yeah, it was a good performance until you get that unlucky bounce that happens to Brandon Vasquez, but it's still I guess a moral victory, but one ultimately that doesn't bring you any closer to righting the ship.
Yeah, we've talked about this. Me and Philly have talked about this earlier in the season. At this point, there are no more moral victories. You got to start having victories. You know, it doesn't matter. You know, Peck makes a great shot in the 17th minute. He clangs one off the woodwork in the 28th. I mean, you've got to put some of these away. And I get it. Paint still is coming back from his quad injury, but how do you replace 40 goals that have gone away? You know, Paint still is playing well. He's coming back from the quad, but the reality is these guys are not putting the ball in the back of the net, and something's going to change, and it's going to be brutal here within the next 3 weeks because the upcoming schedule is just going to be brutal for the Galaxy there, Rob.
Yeah, well, you said it. Something's got to change, right? And it's going to be interesting to see whether Greg Vanny is going to be pragmatic and say, hey, you know, we have our system. We have the way we want to play. However, it hasn't been really working for us up until this moment. We're not getting the chances that we want. I mean, it's brass tacks, right? I mean, Ricky Puig is a huge miss. You're going to miss him all year, and that Greg Vanny's system is tailor-made for that player. They don't have that player at the moment. I mean, Diego Fagundes is a different type of player in the 10. You know, depending on who you ask, Marco Royce is not even on the team right now because you know you hardly see him. He's a different type of 10 as well. So even in the way the defense plays, Ricky Puig's absence affects them. And so will Greg Vanney go ahead and look at this team as is and say, okay, we can't play the way we were playing last year, even though I want to, even though this is my system, can I tweak things to go ahead and play to their strengths? It remains to be seen. I mean, he pretty much sticks to his guns on the way he wants to play.
And I appreciate that, and Philly's going to chime in here in a second, but I appreciate that, but you don't have the same quality of players that you had last year. You just don't.
It's the unfortunate scenario of
definitely
having the roster regulations, the bonuses that eat away at the salary caps, all the ridiculous rules that Major League Soccer throws in. The one thing I do want to say, though, despite the fact that this was a gritty performance, I can't believe that Austin is sitting in second place in the Western Conference with 5 wins, 1 draw, and 3 losses. All things considered, they've scored 7 freaking goals over the course of the entire season. 7 freaking goals. It blows my mind. It just absolutely blows my mind. But at the end of the day, it's all philosophy. They're getting the dubs. Fellas, let's take a look going forward. The LAFC played the Portland Timbers recently. Obviously, I'll talk more about that. But the Galaxy are now going to square off against the Timbers. And, well, the Timbers don't look as bad this season. They're actually sitting in a pretty comfortable spot in 4th place thus far after a really hard-fought win against LAFC. They've got some players, of course, to keep an eye on. Felipe, Anthony, a couple of players to kind of bring that up real quick. But what are your thoughts going forward on the game against the Timbers?
They saw each other just very recently. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Tim. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, let's pile in. Jonathan Rodriguez, who's led their team with 16 goals last year. He's just coming back. He's only played half a game. Go ahead, Rob.
No. I mean, you're saying it. I mean, they're getting a key piece back right there, a dangerous player, a player that scored on the Galaxy last year. But no, these teams saw each other a little more than a month ago, and that one was a 1-1 draw. Christian Ramirez gets a nice ball over the top from Zonka to go ahead and tie that in the 81st minute. But other than that, Galaxy didn't really create that much in this game. Only 2 big chances to Portland's 1. They should look a little bit more cohesive this time against Portland. They have pretty much all their players back, so Greg Vanney should have all his weapons as well. But like you mentioned, Portland's also getting good players back as well, like Rodriguez. And now it's a gunfight. Can the Galaxy's defense keep out a potent Portland offense when they get going?
Yeah, and I'm not quite sure that they're going to be able to with the lack of creativity that the midfield has shown, but we'll see. And the game is this weekend, 6 p.m. on Sunday, the 27th. So go check them out. It'll be a fun watch. You got to go see these guys. So with that, let's wrap up the Galaxy. Rob, thanks for joining us today, buddy. We appreciate it a lot.
Thank you so much for having me back. Tim, Philly, you guys are always welcome as well to La Cuna Galaxiana. We would love to have you guys on, and the entire Soccer and 60 crew. Let's just go ahead and have a wonderful old party one day over there. And thank you guys for having me on. It's been a lovely time. Thank you.
Awesome having you on, Rob. Thank you again. And we're going to take you up on that offer. In fact, we might even crash the party one of these days. You can count on that. Asking you shall receive.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
All right, folks. Rob Halone from La Cuna Galaxiana. Thank you again so much for your time. All right, moving on to guys. LAFC. A gritty performance by the Black and Gold in a seesaw affair against their rivals from the Pacific Northwest, the pesky pine trees of Portland. This back and forth affair would see goals, and quite a few of them. When the dust settled, LAFC did steal points, courtesy of a penalty kick from Danny Bouanga. And, Olivier Giroud got one during the regular season. It's about time. Not during the run of play, but from a free kick. Kind of makes you wonder, though. Next up for LAFC, 4 p.m. this Sunday against St. Louis City SC. Both LA teams are going to be in town. Stay the hell off of the 110 unless you have to be there. St. Louis SC, a team still within its infancy in Major League Soccer, never have beaten LAFC. Let's just put it that way. Let's see if those trends can continue. The player to look out for, Joao Klaus. Now, we're hustling right through this because of that interview that we did do with LAFC co-president Larry Freedman. But before we do that, a couple of quick acquisitions from LAFC. They acquired midfielder Frankie Amaya on loan from Liga MX side Toluca through 2025. He's coming home, folks, out of Santa Ana. Kid starred for the New York Red Bulls, obviously went over to play at FC Cincinnati. He was the number 1 draft pick right out of UCLA, 130 Major League Soccer appearances. He's a good, solid midfielder, certainly bolstering the midfield. And in addition to Frankie Amaya, we got another young buck in that of Ryan Raposo out of Vancouver. If you don't know who Ryan Raposo is and you're an LAFC supporter, get out of here. We've played Vancouver 1,000 times. And chances are that you've seen Ryan Raposo on the field. He won 3 Canadian championships with the club, 148 caps with Vancouver. He now is a member of LAFC. That being said, let's get into it. I had a conversation with Larry Freedman, co-president of LAFC. Let's get it on with that interview. Our guest has been the co-president of LAFC since the club's founding in 2014. As such, he has overseen a remarkable success story, with the club having consistently ranked among the very top of MLS in terms of profitability and franchise value. Under his guidance, LAFC has sold out every MLS home game in its history, secured some very high-profile sponsors, and built a highly attractive brand that has managed to stay relevant despite enormous competition. He's also the co-chair of the Los Angeles World Cup 2026 host committee. I am so thrilled to be joined by my friend, Larry, the legend, Freedman. Larry, welcome to Soccer in 60.
It is great to be here, Philly. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah. It's been a couple of years since you and I have had the honor and privilege of doing a podcast. And thank you for coming on this new project that we've been working on for the last year. It definitely means a lot to me.
Happy to do it.
Now, Larry, if you don't mind, I'm sure you see the jersey.
Yeah.
And for those that are not watching, I'm wearing a Hanover 96, and for a reason. I'd like to start off by immediately addressing the giant Cherundolo-shaped elephant in the room. All of us here at Soccer in 60 agree that you have to respect the decision someone makes for their family's happiness and well-being. We also agree that those who have continuously questioned the LAFC head coach are quite simply wrong. But why don't you tell us how you would rate Steve Cherundolo's tenure at LAFC and what his departure at the end of the 2025 season will mean for the club?
So, first and foremost, there's still a chapter to be written on how this season plays out. But up until this point, I think the term legend gets thrown around a lot in many organizations, including this one. He's a legend, she's a legend, whatever. And look, Steve brought us to glory, and that will never change. And that was both with the MLS Cup and the US Open Cup. And he has led us to any number of other incredible moments. A Champions League, now Champions Cup final against Club Leon. We went to a second MLS final in Columbus. We went to a Leagues Cup final in Columbus. And we have been super successful on Steve's watch. And he is a great human. He's a great family man. He's a great friend. And, great minds will always differ. But one thing that will never be taken away from the Steve Cherundolo legacy is that he took us to an MLS Cup and we won it. He took us to a US Open Cup final and we won it. And for all of the pedigree and, success that Bob Bradley brought to this club, we didn't get there. So I think it's like Joe Madden and my Cubs, right? He took them to glory after 106 or 108 years, whatever it was. And the next year or whatever weren't great, and he got bounced. But one thing will never change is that he led the Cubs to the promised land. And so I think regardless of what happens this season, we will all look back fondly on the memories that Steve has helped create for all of us and the moments of sheer joy that he has contributed to. So I'm going with A. Give him an A grade.
I couldn't agree more. Hence why I'm wearing the Hanover 96 jersey. To put it in context for the listeners out there, this was a team in Germany that Steve captained. An American captained a German team, which that by itself is impressive. And to put one more thing in context, the Chicago Cubs baseball team won a World Series in 2016 after more than 100 years. In fact, up until that point, the Titanic sinking was more recent than the Cubs World Series. So that's what Larry was talking about. All right. Now, from the beginning, Larry, LAFC seems to have done a lot of things right in terms of creating a strong brand presence and being able to demand attention in a landscape that not only features several pro soccer teams, but also the Lakers, the Clippers, the Sparks, the Rams, the Chargers, the Dodgers, the Angels, the Kings, the Ducks. What goes into remaining visible and relevant as a fairly young pro soccer club in one of the most crowded sports and entertainment markets in the world?
You left out the Trojans and the Bruins and probably a few more.
Well, they are professional right now. You're right.
Yeah, it's a very crowded market, and it's not only other sports organizations and their offerings. It's simple things like the weather, right? We can go hike in the Hollywood Hills or the Santa Monica Mountains. We could get in the car, go to Big Bear, ski, then you have the entertainment industry and theme parks and I think what we hoped to do and what we set out to do was to offer folks the opportunity to be a part of a club that grew out of and also created a community similar to, clubs in Germany like Hanover 96, BVB, FC Bayern, clubs throughout Europe, South America. And we felt like if we put something authentically on offer that was like that in a huge market like Los Angeles, though it is crowded, it is filled with people who are first generation, third generation, fifth generation, from somewhere where football is life. And they have a connection through their parents, through their grandparents, through their great-great-grandparents to a club. And they know what that means. They know what that feels like, that they know what that can add to their life and the enjoyment that it can bring. And we felt like if we were able to bring something like that to the table, there would be takers. And, despite all the naysayers who told us we were crazy, why? Because the market was crowded, the Galaxy was already here, and all you had to do was look at the Chivas USA experiment to understand why there wasn't room for a second MLS club in this market, all these reasons. We just felt like if we did it a particular way and set out to be authentic and to create a club, as Bob Bradley used to say to me when he would put me in a headlock, it's not a franchise, Larry, it's a club. It's not McDonald's. And we have tried to stay true to that path. And we think because we chose that path, we've offered something different that does resonate with folks who are familiar with the global game and are looking for something of their own here in LA, in the US, that isn't their grandfathers or their aunts or their moms. It's their own thing.
I say this all the time. You're not exactly going to hop on the 405 and go to Old Trafford or the Bernabeu. And so why not support local soccer? And local soccer seems to be thriving and well. And to quote ABBA, money, money, money must be funny in a rich man's world. And taking that into mind, LAFC has consistently been ranked as one of the most profitable MLS clubs. Forbes has it as the most valuable franchise in the league, ahead of Inter Messi. Among the contributing factors, no doubt the reliable sellouts at BMO and the remarkable fan engagement, along with the club's A-list ownership and lucrative sponsors. Now, given that the balancing profitability with an authentic culture that fans want to be a part of, it can be a challenge. Like, how do you toe the line and make sure folks with limited means continue to feel included?
Yeah, so I think we have always focused on making sure that what we are doing is in some form or fashion accessible to everyone. To pull out a stat, when we opened the building, over 40% of the seats in then Bank of California, now BMO Stadium, over 40% of those seats were $40 or less, right? And $40 in LA, sad reality, cheap ticket, right? And so we have always focused on that. You know, supporter tickets started at $20. They're now $25. That's 3,000 plus seats in the building. And it's very important to us that we never lose sight of the fact that the underpinning of the whole thing is bringing people together from all walks of life, all communities, etc., and everybody is welcome, and we're trying to unite the city through the game. And you can't do that if you price everybody out. And so, you know, to state the obvious, can everybody afford a seat in the director's box or in the founders club or in the field club? No. But can they get in the building? And having spent a lot of time wandering around the whole building, you know, I feel it is an accurate statement to say there's not a bad seat in BMO Stadium, right? You don't feel too far away no matter where you are. You have a good vantage point no matter where you are. It just might be different. You know, if you're sitting in a, you know, bunker suite, field suite seat with your feet on the grass, that is a very different view from being up and being able to see the play develop, and different strokes for different folks, right? But at the end of the day, you know, at the core of keeping that balance between, at the end of the day, we're running a business, but we don't forget that we are stewards of this club for the community. And you can't be a good steward if you're excluding big parts of the population. So, you know, that is something that we have never lost sight of. And hopefully decades from now, when it's other people, you know, sitting in the seats at the top, they never lose sight of it either.
Here's to hoping, of course. And obviously, we hope y'all aren't going anywhere for a very long time, because you've built something great. And as of the supporters, and speaking of which, let's talk a little bit about supporters culture.
Yeah.
You've often said that LAFC's fan base is different from all the other ones in the league and perhaps in all of professional sports. From your perspective, what is it that makes it so unique?
I think, based on observation and conversation with clubs across the league, I think among the things that make it different, it may not be one of, you know, I think there are other clubs that have similar characteristics, but number one, it's the relationship that folks inside the organization have with the leadership and membership of the 3252. That it is an ongoing, day in, day out, open dialogue, no punches pulled, you know, truthful feedback given in all directions, and a common bond built on a commitment that at the end of it, the club comes first. And I think the relationship has been very healthy. And we have been fortunate that, you know, you go back to the beginning and it was Joseph and the Commander, and then it was Jimmy and the late, great Mo Fascio. Then it was Casey and Sue, and now it's Francisco and Mariana. We have been really fortunate that the people at the top have been very good leaders, and that the leadership council in the union has also been very strong. And everyone is committed that no matter what the issue, we're going to work it out. We will find a way to work it out. And I think we are also very fortunate that, having been in just about every stadium in this league, and if I haven't been in the stadium, I've certainly seen it on a broadcast, there is no supporter group or union that performs at the level for the 90 plus the way the 3252 do. It's just a fact. And there is, visual videotaped evidence that we can all stream that will demonstrate that that is a fact. And they create something that is truly special in our league. And we are very, very fortunate to have them and to have them as a part of this community. And what is also beautiful and special is that those contributions aren't confined to the North End. These are folks that are out in the community doing good work, just like we try and get out in the community and do good work. Sometimes our paths cross. Sometimes they're doing their own good work. We're doing our own good work. But at the end of the day, there is a commitment to community that, really makes the union stand out as extraordinary.
Of course, our producer Gunnar from Germany has a friend that is a season ticket holder at Borussia Dortmund, and he's come here a couple times to BMO Stadium, and even he said he's impressed with it. And obviously, having 25,000 people as the yellow wall, that's something that's commendable. But let's talk a little bit more about you and your role. Your role, as the kids would say, you're a shot caller, decision making, some of the things that you do. Like, what are some of the toughest calls you've had to make in your time with LAFC? And does anything immediately come to mind?
Yeah, look, we've gone through a number of experiences that have been challenging, right? We went through the pandemic, and there were challenges that we faced that were not unique to LAFC, where you're in a live entertainment business and you are precluded from engaging in live entertainment. And, we went through some tough times there, had to make some tough decisions with staff members in an extremely challenging economic environment, knowing that it was not going to be simple for people to go find. And we're always evolving. We are over 10 years old now. And, some of the tougher decisions that we've had to face are, what worked for us in the beginning and help get us to where we are may no longer work, and also not, unique to LAFC, but as organizations grow from a startup, right? We were no different from a tech startup that started in somebody's garage in Silicon Valley, other than we didn't start it in a garage. And, there are people who can evolve and have something to add at the startup phase, at the growth phase, at the mature company, mature business phase. And some people are good at one end of the spectrum, good at another end of the spectrum. Some people are good in the middle. And so, we've tried to create a family environment and take care of people. But, there have been any number of examples where either young folks looking for the bigger, better role, we don't have it for them, and they move on. And we're proud of them, and we're happy for them. And we celebrate the fact that we help them get from here to there, which is the next best role for them. And, by the same token, sometimes we have to make a decision that's tough, where, somebody that we love is no longer the right person for a role. And at the end of the day, club first, right? And so, these are decisions that aren't taken lightly, but it's part of what I signed up for.
Understood. Now, Larry, I know you got plenty of things on your plate. You're a busy, busy man. So I only got one final question to ask you. We're operating in the landscape of the world's game. And speaking of the world's game, the main event of this world's game is happening in 2026. I mentioned in the intro that you're co-chair of the LA World Cup host committee. Very simply put, that means that you're basically in charge of everything from going well when the city hosts 8 matches next summer. Like, can you give us an update on where things stand, what's been going well, maybe some challenges that you've had to address and priorities you've set in preparing for this massive event?
Yeah. Well, first, I have to give credit where credit is due. My co-chair, Chris Klein, my friend, my partner,
Indiana guy.
has yes, an Indiana soccer guy, has been absolutely great to work with. And Kathy Schlossman and her team at LA Sports and Entertainment Commission, who really drive the bus on this. They drive the bus on all the big sporting events that come to Los Angeles, whether that's, one Super Bowl in recent memory at SoFi, another one coming, NCAA basketball, college football championship, WrestleMania, you name it. Kathy and LASIK are there, really doing the lion's share of the work. And so, look, it's tough in a city and a market where, unlike some of the other host cities in the US and Canada and Mexico, there's very little public money available to be put towards the expenses that the community incurs to put on an event like this. And so a lot of effort is going into raising those funds and getting organized and being ready because, clock's ticking. We're almost at a year out and the world is going to show up. And they're going to show up in a big way. Part of our thesis for why LA was, as good, if not the best alternative as a host city, is people can come here for matches. Their country's playing in a game at SoFi, whatever the case. There's so many other things to do. C started this conversation about how crowded the market is just to get somebody's attention for 15 seconds. It's a perfect host city because you come, you see your country play in a game at SoFi, and then you go to Disneyland, you go to Universal, you go hike in the mountains, go hike in the hills to see the Hollywood sign, whatever. And I think if it was easy, everybody would do it. And so, the hard work has only just begun and will continue on through, making it a great experience for everybody who shows up for the event. It's a little bit like herding cats, right? LA's the host city, but the games are going to be at SoFi, which is in Inglewood. And, you've got to be sure that transportation is crisp and safety is paramount. And, obviously our old general manager who now runs SoFi Stadium, the great Otto Benedict, is doing something wild, right? Grass field in a building that doesn't get natural sunlight and wasn't built to have irrigation for natural grass surface. So there's, and some modifications needed to take place at SoFi in order to meet with FIFA's requirements for pitch size and runoff and all that good stuff. So, short answer is it takes a village and we've only just begun, but ultimately there's no question that it will be one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. And I think the tournament being here is going to be truly spectacular for the city and the region. It's just going to be as good as it gets. You might say, Philly, the WrestleMania of global football.
The showcase of the immortals, to steal another term from WrestleMania. Yes. And they couldn't have had a better person in charge of all of this, the host committee and all that. Larry, once again, I just want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for your friendship. I've known you now for a number of years. What makes you special is your accessibility. You're always around. You're always out at the tailgates. You're shaking hands and kissing babies, and not in the political manner, because you genuinely love LAFC, the club, and the supporters and those around you. And it's genuine. I've experienced it myself. Heck, I've known you for since the inception of the club. So thank you for everything that you've done. Looking forward to seeing you this weekend. And again, thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you for everything. Thank you for having me.
All right. Great conversation that we did have with Larry. I learned an awful lot of stuff. Larry and I have known each other for a long time, Tim. Heck of a guy, Larry Freedman.
Yeah, the interview that you have with him, you can tell that you guys like each other a lot, and just getting after it, talking about everything. What a great interview, Philly. Nice job, buddy.
I appreciate that. All right, so now that concludes the LAFC segment, let's move on to the Empire Strykers of the Major Arena Soccer League. Nothing happened for the Empire Strykers because this past Sunday down in Chihuahua, Mexico, the Chihuahua Savage took on the San Diego Sockers in leg 2 and the knockout game, and the Chihuahua Savage have now won back-to-back MASL Cup championships. The only team to do so since the Baltimore Blast did it at the inception of this current rendition of the MASL. They are building a juggernaut, back-to-back champions. Their M2 side won that division, and then the women won that as well. Total sweep by the Chihuahuense. I think I said that correctly. Class acts, class organization, and congratulations to them. They're a tough team. Now, Tim, as far as the Strykers are concerned, heck of a season. Made the playoffs for the first time since the finals in 2021. What are you looking forward to for next season out of the Empire?
What I'm looking for? I'm looking for really them to build on what they've created this past season with Coach Obasi. The desire, the want, the need, the feeling that you get when you watch these guys play this year was just something that I hadn't seen before out of these guys. And I'm stoked for these guys to come back next year to keep a bunch of the core group together and really to see them build on what was a great season. I mean, they tripled their win total from the year before. I think they make the playoffs again, and I think they do some damage next year. I don't think they're a one and done in the playoffs next season, Philly.
Well, fingers crossed, because I would like to keep calling games in the postseason and preferably a final with the team in there. This is going to be interesting. Coach Obasi, perhaps working in an expanded role. I don't know. Obviously, with Jimmy Nordberg no longer being at the helm, there we are. So hopefully we get another big offseason, and a lot of these players are going to feature during the TST tournament. Stay tuned for that. We'll probably highlight that as we head into the summer. TST coming through in June. All right, moving right along. National Core, one of the nation's largest nonprofit affordable housing developers and a proud sponsor of your MASL team, the Empire Strykers. At National Core, they believe that soccer has the power to transform lives just like they do. They believe in building strong communities on and off the field. To learn more about National Core and their mission, go to nationalcore.org. All right. Now, with that, we are moving on to Angel City FC, and that can only mean one thing: the return of Nina Kiefer, one half of the Angel City Chicks podcast, the other half being my wife, Amanda the Panda Filliman. Nina Kiefer, hot off of a workout at Orange Theory with my wife, Panda. How we doing?
We are going to be sore for sure, but we are doing good. Gentlemen, we missed it by like a minute. We have a coach. Angel City has finished their search. They brought in Alexander Strauss last week as the new head coach. Very exciting. And now I'm going to butcher a bunch more names. I butchered names last week. I'm going to butcher some more stuff today. But these ones are all going to be in German. So Strauss was actually renowned for his tactical expertise and his championship leader style. He's officially joining Angel City on June 1st after he'll conclude his season with FC Bayern Munich. women? Am I
And
doing
Munich.
Bayern
München.
stand at Süden. That's why I put on the cap. Yeah, baby, the Bavarian Giants. This is awesome. I am super pumped about this one.
This is great, Nina. I am so stoked for this too because what a get. I'm telling you, we were just killing Angel City for the past, I don't know, what, 6 months for not having a coach. And now they get this one. Okay, Mark Parsons, we're idiots. You win.
playing the long game? Yeah, Strauss is known for with Bayern. He joined with them in July 2022, and then he guided the team to consecutive championships, the 2022-23 season, as well as the 23-24, and the Super Cup de Freuen victory in 24 through 25. So super tenured. He's also coached Norway's U23 and U19 teams. I think he's going to fit in very well with Angel City, and I'm really excited to see how he comes over. I especially love this U23 and U19 expertise because we know Angel City is known for our younger roster. So knowing that he has that ability to communicate with and develop our talent, oh, I'm sold. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. And because he's been so good with the youth over in Germany and half of Angel City being under the age of 24, it's going to be incredible. I think they're going to take to him like a duck takes to water. What do you think, Philly?
I mean, it's super exciting. You get somebody with international experience coming from a massive club like Bayern München. Bayern München. Nina, repeat after me. München. Or you could just simply say Munich, the way that everybody around here would say it. It's all good. We all know what you mean. No, the pedigree is incredible. The resume is incredible, and nobody should be upset with this type of signing. At this point, I firmly believe that Angel City FC is in a position of power where they're really going to flip the script and start flipping on their opponents, something that didn't necessarily occur over the past weekend. Perhaps we should move on to the game against Gotham.
Yeah, I mean, boys, I predicted a shutout. That let's just go back a week. I said
You got that right.
I got
Just the wrong way.
just a little backwards. I couldn't have been any more wrong. The Angel City lost 0-4, and in the worst way possible, with one of those goals being an own goal. Absolutely horrific, sad state of affairs then. But you know what? Alyssa was out with an upper leg injury. Press did sub in the 76th minute, and a lot of people credited her impact right away and saw the team change, which is exactly what you want from your veteran players. Though Emslia, we'll talk about her a little bit later. She was my standout for the team. So just really sad stats. I mean, they had 10 shots, 0 on target, 0 big chances, 0 big chances missed.
At least they didn't miss any big chances, Nina.
Yeah.
I mean, hardly any set pieces either. Only one corner. If there really was one element that Angel City FC dominated Gotham in, it would be fouls. Far chippier than Gotham, 17 of their 12. So clearly they were playing aggressive, but 0 shots on goal? 0? A goose egg? Really? With maintaining almost 41% possession? Not good.
Not good, and not the way you want to go into playing a great team like Orlando Pride this Friday. That's right. That's going to be streaming on Amazon Prime. Obviously, they are not at home. They're traveling over to Florida. So kickoff at 5 p.m. Make sure you get out of work on time to hit up that game. But this one, I'm not feeling very comfortable with either. Orlando Pride has a fantastic team. They made a great run. They're just unbeatable, in my opinion, in so many ways. And I'm nervous. I'm very nervous this week, and I don't like it. When I look at the head-to-head, it's not as bad as I would feel like it should be. Orlando Pride has won 3, we've drawn 2, and we've won 1. So unfortunately, Gotham seems to have our number a little bit more, but Orlando Pride, second in the table, unbeaten again. They're so freaking good. And you get Marta, you get Bonda coming in, and it makes me nervous. Our defense is going to have to be on point for this.
Don't forget about McCutcheon as well. But yes, you're right. The last time Angel City did beat the Orlando Pride, April 2nd, 2023. So we're beyond 2 years at that mark. I can't believe we're already 2025. I can't believe Angel City's been around for as long as they have been. But yes, Marta is darn right scary. Like a fine wine, continuing to age with grace and beauty and class and sophistication. You can tell I'm a fan, right? Who isn't? Yeah. She's outstanding.
Absolutely. So going to be a test of our defense. Hopefully with Alyssa back, we're going to be able to get a few shots. That would really help with, not sucking.
Not having goose eggs? Yeah.
Well,
I think the biggest thing is
they're going to end up taking some shots.
yeah, I think, and that's the biggest thing against Gotham with nothing on frame. You've got to, we've talked about this with the Galaxy. The Galaxy, you've got to put it on frame. The Angel City has got to put it on frame. If you're not getting it on frame and you're not getting corner kicks and you're not driving the ball down the wings and getting crosses in, no team is going to score.
Yep.
No. And speaking of which, we have to go move on to another team that had a tough time scoring. Nina, we're going to kick you out for a little bit. We're going to bring you back on for Best 11. Thank you. You look shimmering after your workout, and there you go. You disappeared. Tim, you are the oracle of all things Orange County. Not a great performance against the Oakland Roots. Let's get into that.
Yeah, this one was a tough one. We were expecting a lot of good things about them going up to Oakland, and it was a first thing in the morning game. Game time is 10 a.m. local, so that's a tough one. But the Oakland Roots took a page out of AV Alta's playbook from last weekend, and they started whacking the Orange County guys. To give you an idea, the Oakland Roots received 5 yellow cards in this game. 5 yellow cards. Who gets 5 yellow cards in a game? You know how many Orange County got? None. What happened is Orange County came out, punched them in the mouth, and the first goal of the game is just 10 minutes in, and this was a complete mental mistake. It was a blind back pass trying to get it back to Shuttler, and we've talked about this in the past as well, about trying to play out of the back, and it doesn't always work out well. And this time it didn't. And then, just about 15 minutes later, the defense is playing kind of lackadaisical. And Oakland's Jurgen Dahm, who was a big free agent signing over the summer, gets another one, and it's up 2-0. And, we're 25 minutes into the game, and that's the end of the scoring. Orange County did play a little bit better in the second half, but I think the real focus needs to be going forward as the Las Vegas Lights come to town. And this is the first game of the Jägermeister Cup, Philly, and this is going to be a good time, man. Anytime Jägermeister is involved, Philly, can't be that bad of a time, can it?
Oh my gosh. I think that was that. I mean, Jägermeister was my nickname in college. So you say that, I instantly got chills and smiles because I did nothing without Jägermeister. Had a Jägerator too while we were at it. Those things are insane. Hunter Master is literally what Jägermeister stands for. And it is it's a digestive thing that Germans consume. Yes, exactly. So, look, the game against Las Vegas Lights is, Las Vegas Lights, if there's anything I could say about them, they've got some of the best designers for jerseys that I've seen, at least in the past. I had a great jersey that I picked up at a game at Cashman Field against San Antonio FC, where if you lifted up the shirt to your face, there was a smiley face, like right there. It was fantastic. Good stuff. Maybe I'll bring it on for the next show if they beat. Actually, no, I shouldn't do that. That would be disrespectful to Orange County. But look, what do you think about the bounce back? The bounce back needs to happen because the Oakland Roots are not a good team, and to drop points to a bad team, are we putting on the emergency light anytime soon?
You know what? I think this is one of these games where I know it's super early in the season, but I think you have to. I think, friends of the show, Colin Shuttler, I think Nico, Ben Alcazar, the other guys that we've had on the show, I think they really need to realize that this is a very good time to shine outside of the regular season. They crashed out of the U.S. Open Cup after just the one game. They couldn't get any traction. But if I think they make a run, and they have 4 guaranteed games in this Jägermeister Cup, if they make a run in this cup, this is going to do great things for Orange County and really propel them into a fantastic rest of the regular season here in the USL Championship.
If there's anything I want to do is I want to crawl into a bottle of Jägermeister. Let's do that together, my friend. The Oracle of Orange County, once again, giving us the scoop there. All right, let's move on to our best 11, and let's bring back Nina Kiefer. Nina, let's talk about LA's best 11.
Let's do it, boys. So Remember, LA's best 11, we're looking around all of greater Los Angeles and honoring this past week's top single game performances amongst all the teams we cover. Now, I would argue this is probably one of the easiest weeks to have made it into our best 11. The stats were a little lower. The bar was a little lower for this one. And with that, let's get into it. Goalkeeper, John McCarthy, 1 save PK, 5 saves total. Absolutely fantastic performance, in my opinion, for the LA Galaxy. Even better performance when he used to play for LAFC. That's my bias talking. Sorry, Tim. Defenders, not really too many standouts here. I mean, I'll give it to Ryan Hollingshead and Sergey Palencia for LAFC against Portland. Amiro Garces for Galaxy at Austin. Midfielders, Timmy Tillman for LAFC at Portland, Igor Jesus, also LAFC, and Mark Delgado for LAFC. But Orange County Soccer Club, another name that I'm still going to butcher, and I'm just so like, now I've got the yips. I can't get it right. But 1 shot on goal, 1 block shot, and he drew 3 fouls. And the reason I like this stat for the drawing of fouls is because when a midfielder is able to draw a foul, it becomes a set piece. It becomes a chance created. It becomes a goal scoring opportunity. So that's why I give him my nod. Forwards, Denny Bouanga, captain, 1 goal, 1 assist. Olivier Giroud finally showing up for Philly. We'll get to you in a second. You wait, sir. Gabrielle Peck for Galaxy. And then I want to shout out Claire Emsley for Angel City. I mentioned her earlier. You know, she is one of our super subs along with Nathan Ordaz for LAFC, but 8 recoveries and 3 passes into the final third for Claire. All right, Philly, talk to me. Talk Giroud.
Finally scored a goal, but not during the run of play off of a free kick, but who cares? We'll take it. Maybe like Pringles, once he pops, he just can't stop. I've been joking about his lack of presence on this, and boom, here he is. But a big one. Denis Bouanga played his tail off against Portland. And in the photo that you see on the screen, if you watch the highlights, he pulled up his shirt and you saw something written in marker. It said, R.I.P. Aaron Bopenza. Now, this is his friend from Gabon. While Denny was born in France, he did play for the Gabonese national team. And Bopenza was one of his boys. Played at FC Cincinnati, played in Romania for Rapid Bucharest, and unfortunately lost his life after falling from the 11th floor balcony in a building in China. So really, really awful in that sense, but a nice little shout out to his fallen friend. Now, folks, that's your best 11. Nina, thank you so much. Remember to follow us, like us, tell your friends about us. We're live on 1490 AM plus 98.1 FM in much of the Inland Empire. KMED app or www.kmed1490am.com. The Empire Strikers Instagram and YouTube, or on demand at Empire Strikers with a Y. YouTube and your major podcast platforms. Search for Soccer in 60. And you've been watching it, brought to you by SAC Health System. Thank you, and we'll see you next